Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everyone, everywhere, depending on where and when you are watching. It's a half bright, half hazy, chilly Mother's Day outside my door. What's it looking like outside your door? Last week, we discussed Before I Say I Do. We talked about finances, goals, religious affiliations. We even talked about sex. This week is the season where brides are preparing for those summer weddings, but are they really prepared? Is it all about the wedding and nothing about the marriage? There is so much to do. Will it be a garden wedding? Will it be a church wedding? Oh, what about the gowns, the bridesmaids, floral arrangements, cake tasting, receptions, and that final thing, the shoes? Where is the preparation for the marriage? This week's topic, after we say, I do. I am your co-host, Ambassador Lisa Parks, and welcome to Africaonline TV. Now, if you're tuning in on Facebook and you want to join the conversation, come on over here to Zoom, ID number 514-199-854. That's 514-199-854. And now for the editorial of the day with my co-host, Niasa.
Greetings to everybody and a happy Mother's Day to all the ladies on board. We'll say that again many times through this broadcast. I have a hiccup, so just bear with me and we will continue through. It is Sunday, May 8th, 2022. It is the 128th day of the year on the Gregorian calendar, and there are 237 days left until 2022 is behind us. It is Mother's Day, as we said, a day that celebrates motherhood. It is a day when we take a moment, when we make and take time off to appreciate mothers and mother figures. It is a time when we think about and celebrate birth mothers, stepmothers, and strong mother figures in our lives. In short, it is a moment, a time when we remember that a mother is someone who loves with all her heart. Every year, when Mother's Day comes around, my mind on a personal basis goes to English journalist, short storyteller, poet, and novelist Joseph Rudyard Kipling, who reminds us, quote, God could not be everywhere, and therefore he made mothers. But I'm not affirming that part of it because I know God is omnipresent and omniscient. So mothers are the caring partners in every home. They are there in the homes, but God is with her, guiding her. So first to wake up and last to go to bed, that is the mother. The first to prepare all the food that we eat. And of course, sometimes she eats last. Sometimes she doesn't have anything to eat. Mothers take care of us from cradle to grave because they tuck us in at night, follow us up when we are sick or unable to help ourselves, or when we throw that tantrum and mom is the only one who can help us get out of it. Mothers often always offer us a shoulder to cry on when all else fails. When that sweet heart becomes bitter heart, well, don't take it from me. Happy Mother's Day, therefore, to all and every mother, whether you had or have one of your own or not, whether you raised one for yourself or for someone else, whether you are still striving to have one or still praying that one day things will turn around. Never mind if none came. It is not your fault, maybe. On this day, therefore, we also remember that in 1945, when the guns went silent, the war ended in Europe. The Second World War ended and Europe found peace. That was after Germany's unconditional surrender. Although the war itself did not end in the Pacific because it could only end after Japan had surrendered. And that, of course, did not come until after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There are so many holidays and observances listed for May 8th that we cannot mention them today. So let us just say that Mother's Day remains the most important one today to talk about, although Buddha Day, B-U-D-D-H-A, that's Buddha Day, some religion, I think. Don't blame me if I don't remember everything. It is also World Ovarian Cancer Day and World Red Cross Day. They are both on the calendar mentioned today. On this Sunday, May 8th, Africaonline Corporation is discussing what we should do. After what you heard Ambassador Lisa say, after you say I do, or after we say we do, or after she says she does, or after he says I do, okay, whatever it is. So it is follow up to what we did last week. After you say you do to marry Harry or Harriet, forget the names, it just came to me like that. There comes a time of cutting the T's and then dotting the I's, as the saying goes. It requires a lot of thinking and planning. Some of the planning should be wedding proper. Ambassador Lisa mentioned some of them. The location, the number of guests, the kind of reception, and so on and so forth. An African traditional wedding will, of course, take more than just a couple people. Saying I do comes with the understanding that you are making a lifetime commitment, a commitment which should not cause any headaches going forward. Once you say I do, I believe that everything else will go as smoothly as water in a brook. However, certain questions may still linger on, like, am I really ready for this? Am I doing the right thing? What if? What if? The answers never come, but sometimes they do. So what should one do once one accepts to do or to go along? That is, to get married. What are some of the things or all of the things that should be done between when you say I do and actually walking down the aisle? Africaonline Media Corporation invites you this Sunday, therefore, to share your Zoom, rather to come into our Zoom in, be part of the program, share your views, share your thoughts, and help us raise awareness on what it means when you say, I do. What should you do after that? So join us to raise awareness about what the way forward should be after you say, yes, I do. We wish you good luck. And we say, when you say I do, that is, we wish you good luck after you say I do. And we're seizing the opportunity to wish every single female on the broadcast or just listening out there, happy Mother's Day to all the females in the house, and happy Mother's Day and good luck as we prepare to discuss after you say I do. Ambassador Lisa, sorry for that. Over to you.
Usually we welcome our CEO at this time.
Yes, I know. She turned off her camera,
I
so I
guess
wanted to give her breathing space.
no, I'm fine. I think it's the hiccups. It's okay.
Okay. Okay.
I'm still on the road, and I
Oh,
apologize.
okay.
And I would turn on my camera hopefully the next broadcast, and we pray against that hiccup. You know, that hiccup is not going to keep you from doing the show. We want to thank you, Neil Song, for your faithfulness, and on behalf of Africaonline Media Corporation, I certainly want to wish all females, whether you've had a child or not, whether you're married or not, a happy Mother's Day because you're still a mother.
Yes.
So just a quick way in before I go to the co-anchor ambassador. You know, after you say I do, you will meet the real person. The person that you knew before you said I do is not the real person. You will meet them after you say I do. So we want to congratulate all those who have said I do, and just to encourage you that if the real person shows up after you say I do, and that's not the person you married, you cannot quit. You cannot quit. You're stuck. There's no going back. So you just pray for God's grace to be able to live with that person, because I'm sure during the vow exchange of the vows, you said for better or for worse. So even though a lot of people mean for better or for best, but just know that after you say I do, the real person will show up. And a lot of things are gonna happen. Your marriage will be tested, either by family, by friends, by enemies, by strangers, by work, by the environment, by the government, by the airlines, by something or by somebody. So just be ready before you say I do. Make sure that you can handle whatever comes up after you say I do. I'm not trying to be pessimistic here. After you say I do, there's a lot of bliss and enjoyment. Some people can attest to that. But I just wanted to mention that that real person will show up after you say I do. Ambassador Lisa.
Thank you, Reverend Pam. I wasn't aware that you were on the road, but journey mercies as you are traveling to wherever it is that you're going. So we talked last week about before I say I do, and we discussed a lot of things that I believe a lot of people are missing or they're not talking about before they say I do. We had a conversation. And a lot of those things that we talked about that need to be discussed before we say I do are also the same things that need to not only continue as a discussion into after I say I do, but they need to be enhanced. They need to be reevaluated. I believe every year, at least every year, just like you get a yearly evaluation on your job, there should be a yearly evaluation where couples get to sit down and discuss where they've been and where they want to go from this point on. Because as the Reverend Pam said, after you say I do, you're going to meet the real person. You know, during the courtship, you know, you're nice and you're putting your best foot forward and your best behaviors. But some reason after you say I do, you feel like, hey, I don't have to act like this. I don't have to be nice. We're not dating anymore. I don't have to open doors anymore. But for most women who are emotional creatures, those are the things that we like. Those are the things that we love. And those are the things that we expect to have after we say I do. And then all of a sudden, we're not getting them. As I said earlier in my monologue, we prepare the gown, the bridesmaids, the shoes. We prepare all these things for the wedding. But where is the preparation for the marriage? So just like we discussed last week, let's talk about some of the things that need to be discussed after you say I do. Here today, we have one person who has been married since the beginning of time. Another one who is divorced. Welcome, Sister Connie, Minister Connie, welcome. I hope you won't stay hidden unless you're celebrating your Mother's Day, but we welcome you to the program today. So after we say I do, there are a lot of things that go on in our mind. There are a lot of things that go on in our heart. And we're going to try and stay broad because we know that what happens here in the country is not always what happens on the continent. So we want to kind of stay broad, but, you know, especially since we don't have any guests from the continent to discuss those things. I've had an opportunity to participate in a few weddings in Africa, from the introduction all the way up to the marriage. So let's talk about some of those things. I was getting ready to bring up something that was a little traumatic, and I think I decided not to bring that up. Because we're not pointing fingers or anything like that. So some of the things that we need to talk about, we need to continue talking about our finances. Now, you know, what we discussed before we say I do it, are we actually carrying over those same aspects? Our finances, are we going to merge our finances? Are we going to have a joint account? Who is going to be in charge of that joint account? You know, sometime before the marriage, we may have discussed those things and we've decided to, you know, just, you know, give way to the husband or give way to the wife just for peace in the relationship because we actually want the marriage to take place. But now we're down to the nitty gritty. We're down to where the rubber actually meets the road. So is the husband actually going to turn over the purse string to his wife and let her handle the finances? Is the wife actually going to turn over the purse strings and let the husband handle the finances because he happens to be better at it than she? So these are areas that become a sticking.
Excuse me, sorry.
Oh, not a problem. So let's talk about Nia's son. Let's use him for example. He's going to be our only man today. Our brother Ronald is preparing for midterms. So he is not with us, and he does send his Mother Day greetings and his regards for not being here. So, Nesang,
Yes.
things that you discussed and prepared before you got married, did they actually manifest after you said I do?
I hesitate to say they did. I think all I remember is that after we said we do, we just continued moving on, making plans for the future, making plans for where we're eventually going to live. But then, being a journalist, I was bound to work either in the national capital or in a provincial regional capital. So it was a done deal for where to live. But the kind of house was also another thing. And that too was kind of taken care of because a station manager, a regional manager had an assigned house by government. So the next thing was to be able to find out how you were going to run your home and keep your family going from that time, building the bridges to make sure that in-laws and all other friends and relatives are kept within the fold. Because in Africa, you're getting married to a daughter from a family, you're marrying the family, not the parents of that girl. You're getting married to the entire family. So you have to keep your door open for them. Make sure that when they come in, you welcome them the right way, because there are certain traditional things that must be done. If you don't do them, they may send you a note next time. They may send somebody with a note next time, not a written note, but a verbal note to say, this person came and you did not treat them right. So you have to make amends for that. You may invite the family, or you may invite the individual and took him to your in-laws and say, oh, but this happened this day, but I was so busy, I was taken by other things and did not pay attention as I should have paid. So those things happen. It depends on the tribe. It depends on the culture. So we talk about those things, and we agree also. One of the things that we don't agree on is number of children. We don't discuss children. We just say, as the Almighty provides, we will accept. We don't discuss. Yeah, we don't discuss whether it will be boys or girls. We just say when God gives, we take.
Okay. Well, that's kind of, you can't really say that, we want boys or girls, because, you don't have any control over that. But you certainly can discuss how many, and all that marrying the family. That's where I have a problem. You're married a family, and then the family thinks that they have a right to everything. It's now you become, Minister Connie now is the wife of the family. She's not just her husband's wife. She now becomes the wife of the family. All the uncles, the brothers, and everybody can consider her the wife. I don't think they get the benefits that come along with her, but they certainly do call her, this is our wife, and this is my wife. And no, that's not your wife, that's your sister-in-law. So there are a lot of times when I'm there and I'm trying to distinguish who is who, and I'm like, oh, so this is your niece. No, that's my dad. No, but that's your brother's child. But everybody, that's the family way. That's the African way. And that can be I see you shaking your head, but that can be problematic at times. So there was no discussing of how the finances were going to go, who was going to be in charge of paying the bills, or is that automatically assumed the woman's work?
Well, at the time when I got married, people mostly, women were mostly not working. It was mostly men that worked. So finances were not a major cause for discussion. You could agree that, okay, there will be a bank account and the money will be brought in, and the man will bring the money and the wife will see how they can together discuss how to spend it. So that is one of the things. But things have since changed. Cultures have changed. Demands have changed, and so on and so forth. The socioeconomic perspective of everybody has changed, and people now behave differently than it was in my day ages ago.
Mm-hmm. And exactly how many ages ago was that? So we can stop saying the beginning of time.
5 ages ago.
More than 50 years ago.
50 years.
Yes.
Wow.
So
that's wonderful. That's awesome. That is awesome.
I grew up listening to him on the radio. That should tell you.
You grew up listening to him.
Everybody who grew up in Cameroon knows his name.
Wow.
Everybody.
Wow. How awesome that is. How awesome.
Well, we have been blessed with a legend.
Yes, I definitely agree. I agree. A legend, an icon,
Well,
most.
I would like to wait. I would like to respond to that before Sister Connie comes back. And yeah, so
Yeah.
you may want to drink some water or eat some
I
bitter
did
cola.
already. Yeah, I did already.
Bitter cola, I don't know. That's not the prescription. I know bitter cola helps for everything. But anyway, you know, finances is a major problem in marriage, in relationships. You know, it creates problems between spouses, between parents and children, at work, between business associates and partners. This thing is, a lot of our people don't believe in joint account. To me, if you're gonna get married, if you cannot have a joint account, you don't need to be married, because it means there's no trust in that marriage. There's no
I
point.
don't agree.
No, that's my point of view. If you cannot have a joint account, don't even bother, because I'm not saying both. You should have a joint account, and whoever is better at financial management should manage the accounts. You know, you guys can have a joint account, operational account, or family account, have a joint savings account, and then, you know, agree on allowance that you give each other. And if somebody wants to open a personal checking account for their allowance, so be it. But you should have one joint checking account and one joint savings account. You know, I say this because there are a lot of marriages that fell apart because somebody was hiding money. Somebody was building a house in their village and the other person did not know about. Somebody was siphoning money to somebody, whether it was a side chick or a side whatever, and the other person did not know. When you guys have a joint account, all your paychecks go in that account. There's accountability. There's a building of trust. So you can agree that, okay, each person gets maybe $1,000 a month pocket allowance, or maybe the wife gets a little bit more. That money is coming from that joint savings account. So everybody knows how much money came in and how much went out. However, whatever you do with your $1,000 is your business. I don't need to stick my nose in there. I'm saying if that's what you guys agree on to do that. To me personally, I don't really care. The account, everything can come out from the joint checking account. That way I don't have to be worried about another account. That's me personally. But it is very, very important that there's a joint account. I think it will help with the marriage. But let's hear from Sister Connie. She's muted. Okay.
This is just as she gets ready to talk, somebody calls her. So
okay.
My first marriage, my husband and I did not have a joint account. We never talked about it. We didn't, we never sat down and actually talked about how we were going to handle our money. It just kind of happened that way. And he kind of just said, look, I'll take care of this bill, and this bill. I need you to take care of this bill and that bill. And that's how we rolled. And I was comfortable with it. I had to worry about whether, the major bills in the house were ever going to be paid, because he made sure he took care of those things. He gave me little bills like the water bill and, maybe the electric bill or something like that. But he took care of all the the rent. He took care of all the insurance, everything like that. And it worked for us. So I definitely have to discuss what is going to work best for you two. And like we said, these things, once you know that I don't believe these things should be discussed very early in the relationship, because early in the relationship, you're just dating, you're just going out. But once you decide, I want you to be in my life, I'm thinking about marrying you, that's when those heavy discussions should come out, because I'm not going to be discussing with no Joe Blow I'm dating about how we're going to handle the money. First of all, men are running from women who are that aggressive. Bring it up, because we are, not only are we nurturers, we're organizers as well. So we want to organize things. We want things to be, set in place. But when we start talking about marriage, when we bring it up first, when we start talking serious things first, that causes the man to run the opposite direction. So you need to sit back for a second and let him bring up these things. And once he starts talking about being more serious, once he starts talking about wanting to move to the next stage, then you can come out and say, well, let's talk about this. Like I suggested last week, that you pick a day and a time. Don't have to be all day. Don't have to be for hours. Let's just set aside 1 hour a week to sit down and talk about this particular thing. Let's take notes and let's keep a journal. This week, we're going to talk about finances. Next week, we're going to talk about children. And let's just discuss it for and now, because another thing, a guy don't want to talk all day. He don't want to talk in the first place. If you know I'm only going to have to talk for 30 minutes or 40 minutes, maybe he'll sit down and he'll do that with you. But my sisters, please don't be the first ones to come out and start talking about all those serious things that we talked about, especially last week at the very beginning of the relationship.
But Ambassador Lisa, I need to disagree with you to a certain extent. There are some men that will never bring it up. And these conversations need to happen before you say I do. Because after you say I do, that's not the time to have that conversation.
No, that's not what I said. I'm saying don't bring up the serious stuff first. Once he starts talking about going to the next level or wanting to be, you know, a married couple, then we can have those conversations. But, you know, we just date and he just meet me. Let's go out for a couple dinners or let's go out here or there. That's not the time to be start talking about what you want, how many kids you want, and we're going to merge finances. They're not trying to have, they just out to have a good time. You just out to have a good time. But once we start looking like we're going to be, you know, more serious, we're starting to come together, then we can have those kind of conversations. But I would never have those conversations after, you know, especially now that I've matured, now that I'm grown. I got married, I was in my 20s. That was almost 40 something years ago. So
yeah, because you know, it is sad how a lot of marriages don't even make it to the first anniversary, let alone the second anniversary. And that's why even the immigration in this country, you know, they want you, if you're going to file for a green card for somebody, they want you to be married for at least 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I mean, to me, that bar is so low because to me, marriage should be something that is for life.
Yeah.
Don't get married if you're not going to stick in there. Don't. But it looks like Sister Connie is back now. Can we hear from you? Yeah, yes. Unmute yourself.
Yes, before your granddaughter snatches you up again to do something.
I'm a widower. I think I was married 30 something years before my husband had passed. But the thing is, I found out for me, in some certain cases, he had a sister and 2 or 3 brothers. The point is, this was a grown woman and she's still asking for money, and she had a husband, and that was my thing. And I'm like, when do that stop? She's a grown woman, you know what I mean? And I just feel like this again, like you said, it depends. Cause see, like I said, my husband was a drug addict, so I definitely couldn't keep no money. Let's be clear, you know. But I get, you know, I don't know. I think you should have a separate account in case things go south. I think so. But like you say, but I think with the years, if the trust built, that's fine, you know, like that. But I think it depends. I really think it depends because I don't know. Like I said, everybody's relationship is different. You know what I mean? I'll use this because I have a daughter and 3 sons. And I don't know, look like whatever the girls say something, the daughter say something, dad just jumps at it. Then there's the vice versa with the women with the boys. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess it gotta be communication, and again, it gotta be trust.
So when do you think we should be talking? When do you think couples should be talking about finances?
Well, I think. Like you said, I think you should get that stuff straight before you even get married. Really, I really do. And I think they should really. I think they also should go through counseling, because if you don't go through no counseling, and I think in between the relationship too, because sometimes I mean, when me and my husband, when things was going kind of south there, he didn't think he thought he could just jump back. He didn't think. How can I say? Because I told him, I said, well, why don't we just start over, date or whatever. He didn't want to do all that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So again, and plus my husband wasn't saved till he got saved after, almost before he passed, but 2 years before he passed. But it's like I said again, I think you should have counseling because things change, you change, the woman will change. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah.
Definitely things do change. That's why I say every year you should be sitting down maybe and discussing Let's talk about where we've been.
Mhm.
Can focus on where we're going. You know, especially in that first couple of years when the marriage is still fresh and you're still in the honeymoon stage, and you're just treating each other and you're loving each other and you're buying and not even thinking about a future. You're not thinking about whether the children are coming. So, after time, after a period, there should be a time when we sit down and discuss where we've been, how we've spent, and where are we going to go from here? Because it depends on what we want. If we buy a $500,000 house, that constantly going out clubbing and dinner every week is not going to help your finances.
Exactly.
Your eye on the house. So you need to be setting those goals. We talked about goal setting last week when we talked about before I said I do. There should be some goal setting. And the same thing should still continue after we say I do. We should be picking up on those things that we talked about during the dating stage, and let's see how we actually feel about them now. Periodically review those goals. Periodically pull them out and see if these are still realistic goals. I may have said that I wanted 6 kids because I love kids and I grew up in a big family and I think our kids should have a big family. But once you say I do, and you see that maybe your paycheck is not coming up, you see that you're not making as much money as you thought you were going to make. You're not going to get the job that you thought you were going to have. Let's review that. I have a cousin. They have one daughter, and that was a decision that they made to have only one child because that was all they felt they could comfortably raise and afford. So they want to be able to make sure that she did dance class, ballet class, language classes, music classes, and these things all cost money. So this is what they decided, early on in their marriage, they would only have the one child because that was all they were comfortable with trying to raise and raise adequately, which was.
I want a couple of things. I want to ask you a question, but I want to say something if I ask you that question. I want us to, let me ask you the question. You can answer when I'm done saying whatever I want to say. When they decide to have one child, because they think that's the only thing that's what they can comfortably afford, sometimes that may not be fair to that child because the child may want a sibling. So we're just trying to give advice to those parents out there. When you decide to have one child, think about your child. Your child may need a sibling. A cousin is not a sibling.
That's true.
And stepbrothers and half brothers and stepsisters and half sisters are not the same. So consider giving them at least a sibling from the same gene pool. That way they're not alone in this world, because if you come from a large family, you don't want to do that to your child. Then one thing I want us to talk about is, I don't know if you guys touched on this last week because I was at a funeral last Sunday. But after you say I do, physical appearances are going to change.
Right.
The age shape of the woman may disappear even before she has the child or the children. The V shape and the six-pack of the man, assuming that the man had six-pack before the marriage anyway.
Assuming he did, yes.
Would change. The six-pack may go into a 0-pack or a 2-pack, and the T may becomes a square. I'm just saying these things because sometimes when people are dating or courting, they take care of themselves. Once they get married, they neglect themselves.
Right.
And these things have caused a lot of problems in marriages. It's right when the woman has 1, 2, 3 kids and gravity takes its toll on the body. The man now start looking at a woman that looks like his wife before she became his wife. And that's the problem. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about changes in physical appearances for both the parties.
Well, changes in physical appearance. Let me say, for me, I believe in marrying my best friend. It's somebody I have developed such a relationship with that we are very good friends. I'm not just dating to be a wife or have a husband. I'm dating to develop a friendship. So when things begin to go south, I understand his heart. I know his mind, and it's not so much the body. And this is what I want to encourage us not to just be looking at having this woman or this guy as an arm piece or eye candy. Find out where his mental status is. What's his mind like? What is his heart like? I had one boyfriend who told me that I taught him, and he used to tell people that I taught him how to love from the waist up, meaning from the waist to the brain, because he used the lower part of his body. He did not know that it was possible to love a person of the opposite sex that was platonic, that you develop a relationship with, that did not involve having sex. And it was a new aspect for him. And this is how I counsel young women. This is how I counsel young men. Be friends first. Understand, know their heart. How do they think? What are their plans? What are their goals? So that you're not so much looking at the outward appearance, but let's look at the heart and see what it is that is actually there, because that's the real person. Not what's going on, with the eyelashes and the hair and the fake nails
and the 10 layers of makeup.
Huh?
And the 10 layers of makeup.
Oh, and the 10 layers of makeup, and then all that preparation that it takes. Brides in Africa, they start getting ready at 6 o'clock in the morning in the salon for a wedding at 2. There is so much makeup and hair and lashes added that by the time he gets home and begins to peel back the layers, he's like, "What the heck is this? Who is this?" Because that is not the person that was standing at the aisle. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be beautiful on that day because you want the pictures to be gorgeous and all those things. But let's be real. Let's
right.
Let's see him, at 6 o'clock.
Ambassador Lisa, I've been listening, I've been following, and I wanted to come in on the aspect raised by Reverend Pam about the physical look. Personally, I'm a man of nature. I admire nature. And I believe that changes in nature happen on human beings too. So whatever those changes come to be, you have to learn to accept them, as you will accept that plant in your garden, which yesterday was like this, but today it's like that. So even that pressure, what did Reverend Pam call it? When the apples begin falling, you have to accept the fact that they're not falling because...
I didn't make it that colorful. I said gravity, but apples, yeah, we'll take that.
Okay,
so when the apples begin to fall.
You have to accept the fact that gravity plays a role. But you, the man, remember that some men, play a lot more important role in forcing that gravity on than just gravity itself. It happens. Because I know some men would tell you about how they like to, be like babies. So they have to suckle left and right and front and center and so on. It helps bring down the apple. So please, whatever physical nature, trust that whatever happens, the girl you met 5 years ago will not be the same today. And the girl you met 5 years ago will not be the same 20 years from now. Just give yourself that understanding that, yes, I am going, as the biblical thing says, or the religious thing says, for better or for worse, until death do us part. So if the woman happens to pick up weight, tolerate it, but encourage her to do something about it. If the man develops a tummy, well, of course, tell him, well, that tummy of yours, you have to stop some of the things you are doing, because most men develop the tummies because of alcohol. So if they cut out on the alcoholic consumption, they will certainly maintain a stomach that is acceptable and admissible to a woman.
Well, you know what? I like the ideal of we can't necessarily tell anybody you're getting fat and you need to do something about it, because I know I wouldn't like it. But we can be, especially us women, we have to be wise. Come on, baby, let's exercise together. Let's go for
right.
We used to go for a walk after dinner. We would just go out after we eat, me and the kids, and we would just walk and we would exercise to burn up some of that fat. So you have wisdom and how to encourage each other. And be mindful. We have to always be mindful that we are encouraging each other. Your husband, your wife is already grown. Parents have already raised them. They didn't marry you so you can continue raising them. They didn't marry you so they can continue raising them, even though I always say I raised 3 sons and 2 husbands. Say it all the time. I raised 3 sons and 2 husbands.
Right.
we don't want to go into our, we don't want to spend our life trying to raise these men and these men trying to raise us. So we want to encourage, always want to encourage. You can find a nice way to say even the harshest things. Even the bad word that you have to say, you can find a very nice way of saying it that encourages, that will draw them in, not push them away. And that's what we want to do, especially women. We're the ones that God gave to be the helpmeet. So we have to be able to draw them in. Your granddaughter is getting a lot of exercise, but I'm gonna put her on here and make her.
No, my son is here. My middle son is here. That's why.
Okay. I'm like, she is busy getting her exercise. She's still beautiful. I remember since she was a little girl. So we want to encourage to not let ourselves go. We don't want to let ourselves go because we still have a responsibility to maintain our own health. This is the only body that God has given us to live in until death do us part. And we don't want to be working in opposite of what God created. Many of us have done that. We've not paid attention to.
Oh my God, I'm so excited because I just thought about Lieutenant Dr. Kishon like 10 minutes after we started. And I didn't say anything to Ambassador Lisa. I was like, I wish he was on this show because I know he's married. So it'll be good. He's joining. It'll be good to hear from him, what, I mean, after you say I do, what happens? So, but I want to say this. I know, there are couples where the husband is trim and the wife is overweight and vice versa. So something is not right in that house because if the two of you are in the same house, you eat the same food, one person will not be that much overweight while the other person is trim. So it also comes with being conscious about what you cook at home and what you feed the person with. Somebody was saying that, a lot of African women, they don't want to cook for their husbands. They just make rice and stew because it's easy and that's not healthy. But my thing is, we live in a society now where women work just as much as men. In my own case, I'll cook for my husband. I don't want him to cook and I don't want anybody else cooking for him. But it should not be mandatory that the woman should be the one to cook, especially if the woman is working. But Dr. Kishon is on here. We want to hear what he has to say, advice he has to give to people who just got married. After you say, I do, what should they expect? Dr. Kishon, you are welcome. Can you please unmute yourself?
Welcome.
There you go.
Hi, everyone.
We're so happy to see you. It's been a while.
Yes. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. I wasn't prepared to say anything. I just wanted to just come in and acknowledge everyone and say hello.
Thank you, but we want you to say something. I was telling Ambassador Lisa that at the beginning of the show, I thought about you. I said, it would be nice if he was here to give advice to married couples. We are talking about after you say I do.
Well, listen, I'll say this. I'm in a restaurant with my family now.
Okay.
And that is
do that to us.
One of the most important things. But I wanted to really just reach out to you guys. And I hate missing Sundays with you. I definitely want to come back and speak to you guys about emerging issues and things that are going on. This is such an important topic.
No, enjoy your family and give our love to your wife. Enjoy. We're not going to interfere. That's what we're talking about.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hello.
Is Keyshawn Jr. there?
Yes, that's him.
No, he's not here. He's with his
mom.
mom.
Okay.
Is your mom there?
My mom is here.
Tell your mom we
love
her.
Hello, Mama. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Enjoy.
You too.
All right, enjoy.
And say hello to my good friend Freddie Brooks from New York, from Queens, New York.
Okay. Hello, Freddie.
Hello,
welcome to Africaonline.
How are you?
I'm single.
What?
What did he say?
By the way, I'm single.
Okay, listen.
We need you to come to the show next week.
You missed the show last week. It was before I say I do, but we're going to do a single show. See, now you're going to make me do a single show, okay?
We're going to do a single show and you're going to be on there.
I'm happy to.
Okay, thank you so much. Enjoy your holiday. Enjoy Mother's Day. Keyshawn, it was very good seeing you.
All right.
All right. Thank you,
Love
ladies.
you guys.
Enjoy. Happy Mother's Day. Love you. Love to you guys. I'll see you
Love
next
you
week.
too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Look
Alright.
at this.
That was lovely of him.
I know.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing a single show anyway, but let's get back to the point we're talking about after we say I do. So I'm talking.
After you say I do. After
Mhm.
you say I do.
Yes, because I'll get off in a tangent over there. So what are some of the other things that we need to know and talk about after we say I do? You know,
Okay.
and
Let
all
me.
the frills and
Let me. Well, we need to hear from Sister Connie about that physical appearance change, and then I want to ask this question. You know, but no, let her weigh in first, and I'll ask my next question.
weigh in on what?
And after you say I do, I mean the weight thing.
Oh, the weight. Oh, okay. The
Do you have any advice?
appearance, the weight and physical appearance.
I agree with you 100%. My son-in-law gave my daughter a warm-up suit, and she was so mad for Mother's Day. And I said what he should have did. She said, "Mom, he trying to say I'm fat."
Oh my God.
So
Perfect example.
yeah, she was mad. He trying to say I'm fat. I was cracking up. I just felt like I didn't say anything to my son-in-law, and I didn't say anything. I said, no, I don't think he's saying that, but I think something like that, he should have bought a warm-up suit too.
For himself. Yeah.
That's what he should have did. You know what I mean? And and it's like you say, it's a way to encourage them. And like she was saying, another thing too, if you want them to lose weight, stop telling them to like eat this, say for instance, they eating something different. Don't make them eat the heavy food. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel. And another thing, they should realize, well, again, like I said, I don't know. Like I said, it's just certain men or certain women do things for different reasons. Because you got some that they can make, it doesn't matter what shape they is. Some just make it. I don't. All I can say is just do the best you can. That's all.
Yeah. But
Okay.
with the weight issue, women, if you know that your husband is gaining weight and you don't like it, you have the responsibilities, especially if you are the primary preparer of the food.
Mm-hmm.
Men don't want to hear diets.
Right.
They're not really paying attention. So just begin to switch things out in the meal. Stop cooking with that heavy grease.
Right. Mm-hmm.
To a, unrefined coconut oil, switch out some of the things that they've been eating that cause weight, cut back on some of the meat. I always tell people, use smaller plates. If you serve on a big plate, then you're going to have a responsibility to fill that plate, because the man going to be like, why'd you give me this big plate with this little bit of food? So when you use a smaller plate, like a 9-inch plate, as opposed to a 10 or 11-inch plate, or even a 7-inch plate, you can only fill up so much. So when you begin to cut back, you don't even have to tell them, but you just begin to do we are wise women, my sisters. Remember, we are wise women. We are the helpmeet. God created us to help that man meet the goal that he created him for. So it is our responsibility. Make sure if you are a wife and you are the helpmeet, that you are supposed to be helping him meet those areas.
All right, let me ask my question.
Who are you talking to? You're talking to your son or your daughter over there? Because we're gonna
let me ask my question. Let me ask
Yeah.
my question. Another thing that will happen after you say I do, especially for those of us Christians, because during dating or courtship, you don't get a chance to spend the night with the man. You may find out that your spouse is a big snorer, snores at night like crazy.
Oh,
and snoring, you can't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? I mean, I know the American treatment for that now, or therapies, but you find out that this man has some habits that you just can't deal with, like snoring,
Mm-hmm.
like not flushing the toilet, the spouse completely, or like pressing the toothpaste from the middle instead of from the bottom.
Those are things that bother me.
Yeah, annoying things, or just leaving things everywhere. They eat or they drink, they leave stuff at the spot, they don't take it to the sink, or they don't wash, they don't clean up behind themselves. These are things that are gonna happen after you say I do. Not in every relationship.
Right.
So let's weigh in on those aspects. Bad habits or intolerable habits that you find out after you say I do.
Well, about the bad habits, let me the snoring aspect. How I would remedy that, because if you're snoring and I can't sleep, or I constantly got to roll you over, I would want a separate bedroom. But my time or my reason for you having a separate bedroom is, yes, because you snore and I can't sleep, but it would be a time of visitation. I would make it a game. You know, it would be a time of visitation where I get to come to your place, you get to come to mine. You know, one time, let me just let Nia weigh in before I tell my story. But we've
Are those not natural things that happen? Do people cause that on themselves?
No, that
Does
was just
anyone-
a different example. The snoring is
Yeah.
not a bad habit. I say bad habits or intolerable habits. I want us to address all of them. Snoring was just one. I cannot sleep in a room with somebody who snores. I'm sorry.
Well, there are natural things that happen. I don't know what to say about that. I know there are medical recommendations for treating those, and those should be followed up as quickly as possible. And there are nice ways of telling your partner or your husband or your wife how to go about handling themselves in certain circumstances. You don't have to outrightly say, oh, no, you're so fat, you eat too much. No, just that subtle ways of saying it. And wives or husbands should be able to know how to tell their wives how to go about those things. You go to a party, somebody is serving their plate with, instead of a 5-inch plate, they serve with 10-inch plate, as to follow Ambassador Lisa's example. You caution the person right there privately, quietly, not making a scene out of it. I mean, there are women who know how to talk to their husbands who know how to talk to their wives, and very often those husbands and those wives listen. So it is very important, excuse me for all that, it is very important for you to be each other's keeper, day in, day out, no matter the circumstance.
But you know, I get all that. But there are some spouses that you need to be straight with them for them to shape up. Where all that niceness, does not work. You just have to come up plain and say, look, you are fat and you are the one putting the food in your mouth or the poison. You need to do something about it.
Yes, Reverend Pam,
there are some people that
do that, but in a nice way, in a private location, not in a party. Yeah, don't speak
no,
to him.
not in public, not in public.
No,
Do
never
it
in public.
privately at
Never in
home.
public.
Yeah, it's good to do it while you're in bed, and then you just tell him like, you see, this thing is this. You are getting a little too fat down there, and please, can you do something about it? Can you watch your weight? I mean, that way the person may even feel more comfortable doing what you expect him to do than to just shout at him at a party and make things.
Or more importantly, help them. Like in, I always say Tyler Perry's movie, Why Did I Get Married? This Jill Scott, and I don't know the guy's name. But I mean, the husband left her for a gold digger. She was a very good woman, but she gained weight. And this other guy, the sheriff, took her and helped her lose the weight. And when he saw her, he could not believe that was the same wife. Because sometimes the spouse is the one that even drives them to eating.
Yes, that's stress.
They maltreat you so much that you are so stressed, and then you end up eating for comfort. And then they turn around again and cheat on you because of your weight. So it's just need to, but I want us to talk about the other stuff. The pressing the toothpaste from the middle of the tube rather than from the bottom, or eating and leaving plates, everywhere, or not cleaning up behind themselves. I want us to weigh on all those things. So those things will happen after you get married. Some of those bad habits that you did not see during courtship or on your wedding night. Let's weigh in on that and advise some people. You never know. We have 6 minutes to the top of the hour. You never know which marriage we're going to save.
And I would take a point there by saying that telling people to clean after themselves is very important. The fact that you grew up in your mother's house and your mother was the only one taking care of things does not mean that when you get married, you do the same and and treat your wife as if she were your housemaid. She's the house, whatever, who should clean up after you. I mean, just simply putting your plate away is something already before you start washing them. Because if you take it away to the sink, eventually you may wash them. Back in some environments, it's not possible to take the plate away and wash it, but at least put it away so that the housewife knows that, oh, this guy knows that it's good to clean after you. So the husband should not take it bad if the woman says, oh, but you forgot your plate here. Why don't you just put it away? I mean, people should learn to accept other people who criticize them in a subtle way, because if you don't accept them at that point, it becomes a shouting match tomorrow.
I love to serve. I love to serve my husband. I have no problem with picking up his plates, picking up his clothes. If the toothpaste he squeezes from the top or the middle, and I do have an issue with the toothpaste, I just go and I just squeeze it all up because I like to squeeze it from the bottom. So I just do those things. But these kind of things, I believe, just like raising children, you need to cut that or speak on that at the very beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
The moment you see that, have a conversation
Address it.
address that issue. Because if you wait 1 year, 2 years, a month, whatever, people get set in their patterns, they get set in their ways. You'd be like, well, you ain't never said nothing before. And then it will become a very big issue. So I say, address those issues at the very beginning.
Right.
Just like I said, when you deal with your children, you're raising your children, when you see those bad habits trying to come, you cut that off at the knees at the very beginning. I don't care if they're 1 year old, 2 years old, you bring an order to that. You don't wait till they get 10 and 12 and then you're trying to discipline them for sucking their teeth or rolling their eyes at you. The first time you roll your eyes at me, anyway, address those issues at the very, very beginning.
Yeah, don't wait until they become an
really
everyday
bad
practice. It is
Yes.
easier to cut it to nip it in the bud than to wait for it to become a full-grown
bush.
Yeah,
Full-grown bush. And now you're
That's
trying
right.
to prune it back,
No, it'll be too late.
Yes. So the story I was going to tell, one time my husband told me, we were talking about something. We weren't really fighting or anything, but he told me he wished he had another woman that he could talk to. I didn't get mad because he wished he had another woman he could talk to. When he came home from work that night, and when we got ready to go to bed, there was a whole different bedroom, there was a whole different light bulb, and there was a whole nother woman who stepped across that threshold. I gave him another woman to talk to. And I made it very clear to him that whatever he told Candy, she would not tell Lisa. And he felt comfortable talking about me. He felt comfortable talking about some of the issues that he had that he didn't think he could talk to me about. That next morning when I got up, I began to adjust those things that bothered him that I could. And I told him, anytime you had an issue, all you had to do was come home and screw that red light bulb in. And I knew that the other woman needed to come to bed and not Lisa.
My God.
We only had to do it once. And after that, it became a game that we began to play because we did it out of fun. And just recently, I told my sons what the red light bulb meant, and they could not believe that red light bulb was still up in that room all these years later. I don't use it, but it's still there. And that was the reason why the red light bulb, they were like, what you mean with a red light bulb? It was none of your business. It was me and my husband.
Oh my God.
He said he wished he had another. I wasn't going to give him an opportunity to go find another woman to talk to. He had his sisters and stuff, but I became, no sense of talking to somebody else about your mate. Talk to your mate about your issues. And I found I'm very creative. I found a very creative way to be the other woman that he needed to talk to. And I told him whatever he wanted to say, it was going to be okay because, hey, I wasn't Lisa, I was Candy. And he could tell Candy whatever he wanted.
Wait, let me ask you, so the other woman was your alter ego, right?
Yes.
Okay, good, because I want to make sure our viewers get this clear. Don't get your spouse to go talk to another woman.
I didn't say that.
No, I know. I want to make sure they get it clear.
Yes.
Because I would never allow that. You and your spouse need to go to God in prayer or talk to each other.
Talk to each other.
Don't talk to a friend. I'm sorry about this. I'm a minister, but I'm telling you right now, there's some ministers that need deliverance. So I won't even send them to another one. Oh, we're at the top of the hour. So hey.
Yes, we are. Yeah, no, I make very clear. I was the other woman. I told you I'm very creative. I did not want to give him an opportunity to go find somebody else. I made sure I was the other woman that he wanted to talk to. And he found that he could trust me, or he could trust Candy, because Candy didn't go back and say what he said, and I didn't throw it in his face. Well, this is what you said about me. No, I kept that in very strict confidence, and I adjusted those areas where he was having an issue with.
Awesome. Yeah, we just want to make sure because I didn't quite get you at the beginning.
I'm sorry.
I was like, oh no way, that's not gonna happen. You got to talk to the other woman. The next thing you know, the other woman becomes the real woman. You know. All right, hold on a second. Let's do this. We have somebody who just joined us.
Oh, Africa. Oh no. Africans, Africans for Africa. 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 Africans have many bright ideas. If only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come, sit down, listen to my story. God gave us a wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, as one people, with so many cultures, yet indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us all unite behind Africaonline Media Corporation. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. Hey. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does, to identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards. As one people with so many cultures, yes indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Let us solve all the problems plaguing our continent. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us empower Africans in and out of Africa. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Africaonline Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. They have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. Education for everyone, if we believe. Prosperity for Africans, if we believe. Medical facilitation for Africans, if we believe. Stand up, Africa, yes, for Africa. Africaonline Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. Africa is a cradle of civilization, the motherland. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. We were enslaved not because we were weak, but because of our hospitality. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Jump on the Africaonline miracle jet. Don't be left behind. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Together we shall succeed. Together we will win. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. We are writing our own story, the truth, and we shall tell it to the world. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. No more lies. Africans own Africa.
No more lies. Africans own Africa. Right after the announcements, I see our sister Diana Mills on. We would love to hear from her. But next week, we're going to be talking about child brides. You know, this is also a sequel to today's topic. And so if you are out there and you have experience with this on the continent, or you know somebody who does, please inbox us at info@africaonlinetv.org. We definitely need to hear from you. This is still going on the continent. You know, even though it happens in the diaspora to a limited degree, there are some churches that allow 13-year-olds to get married, you know. So, but we want to focus on the child brides on the continent because a lot of young women have been put in situations where they had no say, given to marriages by their parents, sometimes mostly for economic reasons. There's no reason why an 11-year-old, 13-year-old should be getting married. And most of the time they are getting married to somebody who is older than their parents or old enough to be their parent, their father, or even grandfather, and that needs to stop.
Yes.
2022, it needs to stop. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And then another announcement, some updates on Sierra Leone. The contractor will be going to the site on Thursday. A couple of our team members are going to go. Salifu is going to go. We're hoping that the government people will take care of that so that we can do the ribbon cutting after the government officially approves it. But as we already know, they've been using the water now for about 3-4 months. So which is they're using the water. And Ambassador Lisa will also be talking about, once that is done, we have those videos. Ambassador Lisa is going to be producing the show, the next fundraiser, you know. So we just want to keep people posted. So hopefully after Thursday, they're gonna now set a date for the ribbon cutting and we can get some videos. But I'm gonna hand over to Ambassador Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Pam, for the update on our borehole, which segues right into Africaonline Media Corporation's ongoing fundraiser, which is Operation Borehole 55. It is our desire to put a borehole in every country on the continent of Africa. Many of our medical facilities, which are approved by the government, do not have running water. Can you imagine going to a clinic and delivering your baby and there's no running water? So that room has not been cleaned, those instruments have not been cleaned, and someone has just had a baby before you? Can you imagine having to send your 5, 6, 7-year-old child to walk 2-3 miles to get a bucket of water from a dirty river so that you can prepare breakfast before they go to school, so that you can wash the clothes, so you can do the dishes and keep the house? This is what is going on in the continent, and we want to do our part to remedy that situation. So would you, if you don't mind, considering making any amount of donation, any dollar, rand, shilling, pound, naira, it is all going to go towards the borehole project. There are no administrative fees that come out of your donation. So if you would like to help us in these areas, as we said earlier, Sierra Leone was the first country that was the recipient of a borehole. We have boots on the ground there. They're going, as Reverend Pam said, on Thursday for the final inspection, I believe, so that we can begin to have our ribbon cutting. And we will have those videos to show for our next fundraiser. But if you desire to be a donator, you can make a one-time amount. You can choose to make a donation. A small donation of $5 every month will add up. You can go to www.africaonlinetv.org and make a donation. That's africaonlinetv.org. You'll find a projects page there, or you'll find a donate button there, and you can consider make a monthly donation, a quarterly donation, a yearly donation. Become a monthly contributor. We have a couple of people that, as a result of these shows, and they've come on as guests, they've decided to join us in making monthly donations. As Reverend Pam said, September 2022 will be our next fundraiser. It will be an all day. I think we start like 10 o'clock in the morning till about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. We're going to bring you entertainment from across the continent and the diaspora. We're going to talk about the conditions, and we're going to have a good time so we can raise some money for our next project. Our next country that has been selected is going to be Kenya, and we are on our way there, but we can't do it without you. So please consider sowing any amount of money towards the Operation Borehole project. We appreciate you, we thank you, and we love you in advance. Also, we want you to save the date. That's right, get your date book out, put it down in ink. Don't just pencil it in, we want you to ink it in, because our sister organization, Africa's Brain Bank, will be hosting their annual summit and charity ball. ATL, we coming your way. Watch out, because they are coming. The people are coming.
Big time.
We are coming to Atlanta, October 8th and the 9th in Atlanta, Georgia, for our annual summit and charity ball. I believe the hotel selected is the Atlanta
Marriott, Airport Marriott. Thank you so much.
It's going to be the Airport Marriott. So you don't even have to go far. You just fly in and go right to the hotel and check in. But also, we want you to also visit AfricaOnlineTV.org for more information on that as well. If you want to ask a question, you want to make a comment to any of the hosts about anything you've seen or heard today, a previous show, or you'd like to have an idea about a future show, send us an email at info@AfricaOnlineTV.org, and we surely will get back with you at our earliest convenience. Thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Nia-san.
Thank you, merci beaucoup. Notre opération Borehole 55 continue. Nous vous prions de bien vouloir nous donner un peu de sous pour qu'on continue à construire des adductions d'eau dans les divers pays africains. On a commencé au Sierra Leone, c'est fonctionnaire, le village a de l'eau, le centre de santé développé a de l'eau. Maintenant, on vous prie de continuer à nous donner un peu de sous. Faites votre don sur notre website www.africaonlinetv.org pour faire votre contribution. C'est très important, comme vous le savez, l'eau c'est la vie, l'eau c'est la vie, l'eau c'est la vie. Autre chose, une date à retenir, le 8 et le 9 septembre prochain, Africa's Brain Bank organise son gala annuel. Ça sera à Atlanta, en Georgie. Donc, le 8 et le 9 septembre, bien vouloir retenir cette date, nous allons continuer à vous solliciter de participer à cet événement. C'est très important. Merci beaucoup. Back to you, Ambassador Lisa.
Thank you, Nia-san. I hate that you have the hiccups like that. I have them occasionally and they hurt, and I can't imagine having them on a continuous basis like you are, but you are the constant professional who just
yes, he is.
In spite of it. We thank you for that. So again, we're talking about after we say I do. And I believe Reverend Pam brought up some comments. We were talking about bad habits or intolerable habits. What do we do? How do you handle those intolerable habits?
I would say communication is very important, because some people, they don't say anything to their partner,
Mhm.
and they talk to other people outside and listen to advice from others outside. And the next thing you know, they are heading to divorce court when the other person didn't even know
Didn't even
was
know. Mhm.
Yes. So communication is very, very important. It's very, very important. You know, I know some people may be uncomfortable telling their spouse that they've gained weight. If you love that person, you need to be able to tell them the truth
Right.
without being mean. Don't beat around the bush. Let them know this, because so that way you can nip it in the bud before it goes out of control. If you don't tell, okay, for example, if your spouse gain weight and is bothering you so much, and you don't tell that spouse, instead you are seeking counsel outside, and the outside counsel may give you misguide you. The next thing you know, you start having an affair, and your spouse may not even know until you are ready to leave the marriage.
Mhm.
And that's not fair to her or him, because you should have at least given them the opportunity to rectify the problem.
Yes, yes, I agree.
Because to me, character really cannot be changed unless they have a visitation with the Lord. But physical appearance can be changed. The person, when you marry that person, is the same body structure. For some reason, and you have to take some responsibility to it, because maybe they were a size 8 when they married you, and they went to size 14. I don't think you are totally innocent. You must have contributed some way, in somehow. So it needs to be a team effort. But I just want to stress the importance of communication, not just with anything, with everything. Let your spouse know. If you cannot talk to that person, then you should not have married that person in the first place. Let them know. If they say something that offends you, don't suffer in silence. Let them know so it doesn't happen again. Because they may keep doing it, and they become repeat offenders, not even knowing that the things they say bother you. So you are two total strangers coming from different upbringing, sometimes different race, different culture, different ethnic backgrounds, different socioeconomic status, and something that bothers somebody may not bother you in your own environment or in your own space, and your values may be different from theirs. So I want to stress that communication is very, very important. Over to you, Niasa.
Yes, indeed. Communication is a very important part of the marriage agreement. Whatever it is, you cannot live in a house and not talk to the next or to the person by you. And you cannot just talk any talk. You have to learn to accept the moment that we get together at this point and talk. And watch out when you do the communication. Don't let your partner come back from work. He's tired,
Right.
has a long day, and maybe with a rough day at work, and then you start, oh, I just wanted to talk to you. If she or he says, give me a minute, let me rest. Listen to her and only communicate when it is convenient to communicate, because you may go in an instant spoil the whole thing by trying to communicate. So communication is not just talking to the other person, but it's also being able to have the other person to listen to you, and to listen to you with an open mind, not just listening because you have asked that you want to talk to them, so it is their duty to listen. No, please try to make it convenient, try to find the appropriate moment, and please do that so that both of you are able to communicate. Communication is a two-way traffic. It is a give and take. It is not just give, give, give. Don't talk down on the person. Don't be the only one to be talking. Listen to the other person. Ambassador Lisa.
Yes, we've already said everything that needs to be said about communication. What I find, especially on the continent, is that there is not a lot of counseling or good counsel that is going on. I've encountered some of the craziest counseling over there that is just unimaginable. But for the last few minutes, we're down to 5:20 already. And I wanted to kind of touch on the sex issue after we've said I do. Now, we know all of us are Christians. We know what we should be teaching, and we know what we are teaching and what we're telling people. We should not be having sex before marriage, wait for the marriage bed, so that it be honorable, that there is no sin. But what happens when there is no sex before marriage? Now, I don't know if you talked about it or not, because I'm finding that these kind of things are not discussed. They only discuss when I come over there and bring them up. But what happens when you marry your spouse after the marriage and you don't want to have sex and you don't want children. How do we handle that? Because if it was not discussed ahead of time, and that's something that you desire, that's not a marriage that you're going to stay in. I know a pastor right now who has gotten an annulment because he wanted children and he wanted sex, and his wife was not interested in either one of those things. And I don't know if they talked about it beforehand. I wasn't given that information, but he was allowed to get an annulment. Now, there are 3 reasons by law that you can get an annulment. And he had one of those reasons, which is the marriage had not been consummated. So how do we feel, or what are we doing when these kind of issues come up, when we're talking to, especially to our people on the continent? When
before this pastor got married, did they go through marriage counseling?
I don't know. I'm assuming that it is. He's a very strict pastor himself. I mean, not very strict, but he's one who definitely counsels his people. I know that for a fact.
But sometimes people tell people what to do, but they don't do what they tell people to do. Do as I say, not as I do, because if they had gone through counseling, I in my ministry we do 6 months of is it 6 months or 6 weeks? No, 12 weeks, which is 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, 3 months. I would encourage people to go through counseling.
Yes.
And if they did that counseling, sex has to come up in that counseling. I'll be surprised that the wife, I don't know them, I'm not being judgmental, but that this was not, he went through counseling and they did not discuss this. If they had discussed this and then the woman decides not to do that, then, you know, she has issues. But the thing is, they may not have discussed that. So my recommendation would be to have counseling and go to the right person, because you can go for counseling to the wrong person, somebody who himself or herself is not even in a good marriage, and the counseling will not help you. But again, to me, communication is that's what we're talking about, communication. Because even with counseling, you cannot counsel somebody without communication. Either there's communication between the 2 of you, or between the 2 of you and the counselor. It still boils down to communication and seeking the face of the Lord. You know, what was her reason for not wanting that? What did she think marriage was? Was she marrying a brother to live in their house as roommates, or what? Let's hear from you.
Yes. I know that it didn't become ugly. We tolerated. I do know that it was tolerated for over a year, you know, hoping that things would change. And when it did not, they ended up divorcing, because his heart.
Yeah, but
family, having a family.
From day one, that should have been on one of the top of the charts.
Yes.
Don't wait until you are already in it, then you start talking about things like that. That should be one of the first things to discuss about, because before you say I do, understand what it all means. Don't say I do and then tomorrow you say, oh, but I came here. I came here as my mother brought me to the world, and I want to remain like that until I go back to heaven. No, that is not the way it should be.
It is not.
Marriage, the discussion should start from day one and go through to whenever.
Like I said, I found that a lot of the counseling over there, a lot of the pastors that are counseling married couples are not counseling them in those areas. And when I asked them, well, what did your counselor, you know, tell you about sex? I know my daughter-in-law told me, she said, I was told that men like sex and it was her duty. And that was the extent of the sex conversation. I said, now I see why God sent me.
That is ridiculous.
Conversation.
Yeah,
and this is what she got from her pastors who taught her that. And it is not your duty. It is your pleasure as much as it is his. And I went on to share. So consequently, all my daughter-in-laws want to talk to me before they get married. I'm very open with my boys. I'm very open with my sons. Whatever they ask, I'm very clear. I'm very open, because I know that they're not getting that kind of information, so they can go on. And I want to see them be a different generation of people. You know, their mothers have been, their grandmothers have been, who have tolerated the abuse, you know, being told that, you know, this is your duty. It is not, that's not what God created. He told us we're supposed to have life and have it abundantly. How are you gonna have life abundantly if you're only fulfilling duties? So I'm praying that that's going to be an area that is really going to be changed because it is detrimental to a lot of these young women that are there.
No, that has to change because it's
Has
very
to.
rampant. It's very rampant on the continent, and some of them bring that same mentality here. You know that is a woman's duty. It's not a woman's duty. It's not a woman's duty. You know, and it should be something that is mutually desired, mutually, you know, enjoyed. You know,
Yes.
but you know, in Ephesians 5 verse 20, when God said, before He said the wife should submit unto their husbands, in verse 21 rather, He says that they should submit one unto another. The man
Yes.
should be submissive to the wife, and the wife should be submissive to the husband in the fear of God. So it cannot be, if it's a woman's duty, it's a man's duty. You know, that was when God said that in verse 21 before going on to 22 to say the wife should submit unto their own husband. You know, so people need to be careful. And it saddens me when men of God who are in place of authority, position of authority, are telling the wife that. What are they telling the men? What are they telling the to-be husband?
Right. I don't know what they tell you. Know, it never even dawned on me to ask my son what he got in counseling.
It will be good to ask your son.
Yes. What did you get in counseling? Now that I think about it, I'm going to have to ask that question because it never dawned on me to this day.
Please do. Please do.
It's important to ask. Very important. Yeah.
All I know is that's why God sent me with the instructions. I said, God, you sure you want me to say this? You sure you want me to have this conversation? You sure you want me to take this book? And He was very clear. And that's it. After I asked that question, and we had a chance to sit up all night and talk and discuss some things. And then I went back for a second daughter's wedding. And I taken my sisters from America, and they sat up all night the night before the wedding, asking us all kinds of questions that I was like, didn't your singer teach you this? Didn't y'all have this conversation?
Let me say this, and this may sound, you know, strange, but there are some married women who have never experienced orgasm, you know, and that is ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
Because God did not make it just for men. If you're going to engage in it, both of you should enjoy it.
Yes, yes. That's pretty sad. But this has been a wonderful conversation. Reverend Pam, I miss your lovely face on Mother's Day.
Don't worry, you'll see me.
That's
Ephesians 5:21, not 5:20.
Oh,
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. No, I think the first time I said
no,
20.
that's 5:21. Oh, I'm sorry, 5:21. You're right.
Yeah, it could be a typo. Yeah.
Okay, where is our sister who was with us? Has she withdrawn because I was
Maybe she was having a technical difficulty. She zoomed in twice and dropped, but it's no problem. Yeah. We are fine. We are fine.
So what do we do with a round of the table? So you, three of us, go
Of
ahead.
course.
Yes,
Of course.
okay. So, Reverend Pam, let's start with Ambassador Lisa. Your last word then on the topic.
On the topic.
After you say I do.
After you say I do, make sure that the things that you discussed before you said I do continue on. Make sure that you keep it very clear, very open line of communication. Make sure that your spouse knows that he can trust you with anything that he brings to you. Make sure you set the boundaries and how we talk to one another. We want to talk to each other with love. We want to talk to each other with respect. The moment you get disrespectful, that's when things are going to go out of the window and communication is going to go out of the women. Women, my dear sisters and my dear daughters, please be respectful and know that you are a helpmeet. You are there created to help them meet the place that they should be in God. That is my last word on the subject.
Thank you, Ambassador Lisa. Reverend Pam.
Yes, thank you so much. You know, we've been doing this series for God. How many years? 6 years.
6.
And I know, and yes, and we crafted that phrase before you say I do and after you say I do. So the truth of the matter is these marital problems are going to keep happening. People are still going to jump into marriage for the wrong reasons, but we'll continue to do our part and we are making a difference. We may not have the data to prove it because we don't have somebody monitoring the data, but we are making a difference. And I'm glad you're going to ask your sons what they are telling them in counseling. I can tell you this, they're not telling them the same thing they're telling the women. They're not telling the man that, oh, sex is his duty. You know, they may be telling him is it right, I don't know. But they need to know that. But I just want to say, after you say I do, there's no turning back. The only time I will advise you, or the Bible allows divorce, is in cases of adultery. In those cases, there's room for forgiveness. However, if somebody if your life is in danger, I'm not advising you to divorce, but seek help, ask for help, and remove yourself physically from the danger zone until things are resolved before you come back. Because a dead woman cannot be a wife, or a dead husband cannot be a husband. Niaso.
Thank you all very much for the discussion today. Yes, let what you agreed on before you said I do continue to help you throughout your wedding or throughout the marriage, and let what happens after you say I do be the watchword, so that together you continue to live your lives as you wanted them to be. So please let your yes be yes and your no be no, but let communication take the primary place in your relationship. Let nothing be off limits for discussion. Thank you all, and we'll be seeing you again next Sunday. Bye for now, and thank you. I made it through.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day again, Ambassador.
Happy
Enjoy your
Mother's
Mother's
Day.
Day.